Good morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. Very good morning to my YouTube viewers as well. This Monday's webinar will be on YouTube. If you like it, if you follow what I do and you think it's helping you in any way, form, or shape, please share it to another trader. There's some other struggling trader out there that's looking for other views on how to learn this. There's another view he can have. So please share it. Let's go. I'm on a dollar index and we're still in the consolidation. We haven't really gone anywhere. Pretty much in the last couple of months, the dollar index hasn't gone anywhere. Right? It's kind of going up and down. We stayed in here for a good while. We were at this point and we're literally pretty much at that point. So we made another smaller consolidation here and you're going. The question is whether this is actually going up to the top. Now, the only reason I'm not confirming that upside as yet is because we haven't broken this low. And from my experience, contracting flats are rare, which means this being the entire flat is a rare situation. So I'm very cautious on making that forecast that, well, this is actually now going to the top. We are expecting that to happen. I'm not sure this is the move as yet. And then we've got this sharp move here that is a little confusing too, because when we get sharp moves like that, we tend to get one more here. But this one could happen really late. It doesn't have to happen now. Like take this, for example. We had this one and they went up and did this all the way here. And then you get it at this level. This is where you get that flat. Now, this happens when you're in a corrective structure. When you're in an impulsive structure, that doesn't happen. So I'm not expecting this to be the impulsive structure. There's a good chance that we will break this top. We could probably come back here, break the top again, and then drop. Or if we come back here and they take off, this one could go all the way to the top, and this would just be a flat at the bottom here. You get a flat there. This one is not as big as this one. I think you can find a flat here. That one is not as big as this one. So would this be a long, drawn-out running flat where we come all here and then they do something like this and go? That is possible. So you trade in the lower time frame. You take the trades that you have one at a time, and then you know what your expectations are, right? I'm not expecting this to take off, but if it take off, great. That would be the trade. So what you'd be looking for today to confirm? We can't even be sure that this actually takes off. Right? What if this sharp move is some form of another running flat, which means it comes back all the way here, go back there, drop again, and then we end up breaking the low? What if it is? We don't know that at the moment. So what is known at the moment is that you've got an impulse up. And if this impulse consolidates here, we're going to break the top. So you have a trade to break the top. That is the forecast for today. That forecast might change by tomorrow if this actually drops lower. Now, if it drops lower, we will sell. But where we will sell will depend on how it drops. Now, looking at the way it's behaving here now, I think it's mostly a buy. So if you go into 1 hour, what you're getting there is a small flat at the top. Right? You can see there's a sell set up here. Aggressive traders might take this trade, but I think it might just do this and go right back up. Just do this and go right back up. So if you're not such an aggressive trader, you wait for the buy. The buy is a better risk to reward. The sell at the moment is not a great risk to reward trade, unless this is an impulse in a future running flat, which we don't know as yet. So when would we know that? When we would confirm that if it drops, make any flag under here. That would be the sell setup. That means we're assuming that this would continue to go down. But if it makes one flat at the top here, we're assuming it's going to be a buy. So we're going for the buy. My forecast for today, and not for the entire week, but for today, is upside. If we break this top, we could literally reverse. Not necessarily we will reverse, but we could reverse. We're aware of the possibility of the reversal. If it breaks the top and consolidate, good, we just continue to buy. So wave analysis gives you forecasts on short term, on long term, and medium term. And you can look at these specific patterns at any point in time to take a trade. Like I said, you could sell it now if you want, but you've got to be a really good aggressive trader to get the hell out of that, because we're forecasting the upside. All this needs to do is break this low and it could turn to the upside. It could also do this and then turn to the upside. So if you're taking this sell, you have to be good. You have to understand wave analysis. You have to understand where the pattern is completed and how you get the hell out of it very fast if it doesn't go further. All of that we have traders in the group who do, right? So we have a lot of senior traders who have the ability to do that. Some of them do it. Some of them trade in the 1 hour. And it's different because that's a question I got from a trader who wants to join the group. And one of the things he asked me is, how are the traders doing? What are their win-loss ratio? And I'm like, it's different for every single trader. Right? We don't have a group where we're not selling signals. It's not a group where everybody does exactly the same thing. We have traders who only trade 1 or 2 instruments. And it's not exactly the same instrument as any other trader is trading. Right? So it's a group where we teach you to trade. You become independent trader and you make your choice on what you trade, how you trade it, what time frame you trade it, and what strategies you're going to use to trade it. Most of our traders have got their own individual strategies they've tweaked to use. The only thing we all have in common is wave analysis, because wave analysis is what gives you the sense of directions and allow you to make the forecast on all time frame. That doesn't change for us individually. Your strategy can change for you. The time frame you trade can change for you. What the chart is doing is not changing. It's for all of us. So that is why the analysis is the most important thing. If you get that right, your chances are up. So we're going to be looking for this to come down a little more, and then I'm looking for a buy setup. I'll assume that we're making a flat here now, and then we're going to go up. So for me, this would be a buy setup. We'll see where that goes. It would become a sell in the next 10 hours if it breaks the low and start to consolidate. Silver, yeah, going down slowly. Now, at this point, silver will either turn to the upside or it will consolidate again and drop. Now, we're out of the structure. We're almost out of the structure. So any consolidation here would mean it can literally drop and make a new low. We're out of 2 structures. Let me just confirm that. We're out of this down structure, which means upside is very, very possible. We're also at the bottom of this up structure here. So if they consolidate here, that's 1 drop. And if this actually drops to this level, there's a high probability we will retest the low before we go back up. There's a very high probability for that. So come to the 1 hour. Just like the dollar index going down, we have a possibility for an up move here, see? But this up move is within the downtrend. You don't really want to buy this, not here. If we're going to buy this, it has to break out, make a flag here, and then we'll buy. Because if you buy this here, the chances are it's just going to do this. It's just going to do this, and then it's going to drop. That's a perfect sell setup, actually. Not that I think it will go very far, but it's a perfect sell setup. See this one here? If you bought that, it came there and came down. I could show you this one here, for example. If you're looking at this, you would get something like this. This went up, came back down, went up back, came back down. You don't buy it here. You let it break out of the top, make flags, and then you buy. So this is not a buy setup. This is mostly a sell setup. And we can see how far that goes. Especially if you're breaking through the structure, the sell is a must. Right? We're going to be totally out of that structure. So if we get a sell setup there, we'll go for it. Gold actually broke through the low. Gold, we were anticipating more downside than upside. I said this is very, very, very corrective. We didn't break the top here. See, we didn't break that top. So the only question is whether this is a big flat. 1, 2, 3. And this is dropping. We can look at this. If it drops, we go for the sell. But if it goes back up and make a new high, which is possible, I think that is still possible because we haven't broken this top. You can just look at this as a bigger flat, for example. We can assume that this is 1, 2, with that 3 wave in the middle there. 3, and this one comes back, make a new high here, and still come down. The new high doesn't mean we're going to take off. It just means we made a bigger flat there. We could go up some more and we could still drop. This is still very, very corrective. So on the big picture, it's still correcting, but the question is it the correction for upside? Normally when you get something like that looking so flat like this, and this one is really flat, they tend to make a new low, right? The tendency is to make a new low. So for us, we would anticipate the chance of it going. Will we get a buy setup on the gold here? Well, not at this point. I will not be buying gold from this point. And by the way, just a small comment. Again, remember, sometimes I looked at the comments you guys make in YouTube. If I do have the time, I wish I had enough time to read each one of them and reply to each one of them. You can still make your comments because other people read them. And one guy was saying, well, I like your analysis, but I'm still bullish in gold. Now, if you're in my group, you would never say you're bullish on anything. You would also never say you're bearish on anything, because bullish and bearish are mostly investor terms. So if you're a long-term gold investor, you should be bullish, which means if you bought gold 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, or you're buying gold today for the next 10 years, yeah, you should be bullish, because it's the next 10 years it will go up, right? It will go up. I can guarantee you that this thing, even if it breaks this low or breaks this low, it will probably come back to this level. And maybe from that point, it will drop or it will go up. So this could be a sense of bullishness, but that'll be probably 2 years from now. If all of that is going to happen, it will probably take about a year or two to happen. So are you bullish? Yeah, you can be at that point, but when it reaches this point, you better get bearish if it's not breaking out, or if it turns at that point, right? So terminology are irrelevant to trading as far as I'm concerned. We're like, whether you're bullish, we're traders, we're day traders. We can be buying now and selling in the next 2 hours. The same instrument, right? We're just trying to catch one impulse on the 1 hour or on the 4 hour or on the 15 minutes. My traders buy and sell the same instrument within 4 or 5 hours if they're trading in the 15 minutes. So bullish, bearish, I think those are not terminologies for day traders. You just leave that to the investors. We will come with, do we have an impulse? Do we have a correction? Are we going to get another impulse? Let's take it. Doesn't matter the direction, right? So right now, what we have here is that 2 chances. This is a bigger flat and we're trying to go there, or this consolidates here and drop. If it consolidates and drop, we will definitely go with the sell. The buy setup might be a little too early for that. You see, they do go up slowly, right? They go up slowly like this. And this is dangerous trading. They do go up. This one was sideways. They do go up slowly like this. This is dangerous trading. If it starts to go up slowly like this, that becomes dangerous trading, because you were using a stop and you will likely be stopped out and then watch it go. So you're trying to catch a sharp movement that will go and then hope to get profit out of that. So this is still sideways. We're going to look for sell setup. We'll see if it goes up, break the top, then we'll start looking for sell. If we get a really good buy setup, then we'll take it. Euro, we were expecting euro to go up more. Once it made this big consolidation and broke the top, if this was, as you can see, I had a buy setup there because it was making a flag here. Just like I showed you on the dollar index, it's making a flag. This was making a flag here. So we were looking for a buy setup and the breakout of this. And then it made another flag and drop. This is where your sell comes in. So if you were on Friday and we broke this low and you start to consolidate it, that becomes your sell setup. That's where your sell setup actually comes, right? When you make a new low there, then you consider that, okay, are we retesting this areas? We broke that, and let's see if we break the low. If we haven't broken the low, we'll probably have another fall. Yeah, we haven't broken the low, so there's a high probability that this would make a flat, a small flat, and drop again one more. At least one more to break the low. And let's see what happens from that point. So if you're looking at this big picture, you have a very similar structure like the dollar index. Very similar to the dollar. The entire structure is almost a reflection of the dollar index, right? Sharp move up, correction down, sharp move up. We didn't break the top. If either one of these had broken the top, we can assume that one of them was a contracting flat, but neither broke. And normally, I mean, by rule, you guys might not know this. If you break the top and it's a contracting flat, you hardly would be doing this. You'd probably be dropping already. And that's just as a way of understanding how patterns work. So what is the assumption at this point? Well, even if you break this low, we probably will still go back for this. So there is a sell setup here today, but that means you just have to be very cautious about it. So go to the 1 hour. And if you're going to sell it, if you get the sell setup and it does work, which means once it breaks this top here, you can put a sell entry. We will put a sell entry for this trade down. And if that triggers, once it breaks this low, we'll be very cautious. Now, I don't know how low it's going to go beyond that low, but the criteria for completing that pattern, that down move, is breaking this low. If it breaks the low, that is enough to say it can end the structure in turn. If we see a turn, we'll join it. There's no, if you don't get the turn, it continues to go, good for you, you're in the sell. Why worry, right? So what if it starts to go up from here? Well, we would have a problem because this by itself would have to make a bigger flat here before it continues to go. And that will make the entire structure a huge corrective structure. That is all it's going to be. It's not going to be the impulse to the upside. This move was already confirmed. It is not going to be an impulse to the upside. So what we have here was just a big correction, a move up, a move down, a move up, completed a three-way flat, and you're dropping. So we'll look for a sell setup here today, short-term trade, and then we're going to hope that it goes much lower before it comes back up. Pound. The pound was a sell. I actually made the pound sell call on Friday. We actually made this to come back to retest this low. That is all we were looking for. So we're kind of in a big corrective structure here. They did make a low here. Now, the only thing is whether this low is going to take off back to the top. It should, or whether it's going to make one more drop and then take off back to the top. It still will take off back to the top because that's just a big correction. The last time when we had it, when we had this drop, which we sold, we closed the trade, and then I thought this would probably make a new low and then go. But instead, they made a flat here and they spiked up, come back down. This could do the same thing. If we get a buy setup here, we'll take it. So for my traders, if we did make a new low, right? You can see this made a new low here. Go to the 15, you can see it made a new low here. So with this new low, if we get a buy setup, we'll go for it. If they make another low, which means it makes a new low again, we're not selling this. If you want to sell the euro, don't sell this. Downside is limited, right? Because there's a good chance that, it will just make a little low and then go back up. I don't think this is the start of a bigger drop as yet. We can't confirm that, so I wouldn't go with that as yet. I'll rather sell the euro, unless there's a news event and the pound, and then we'll relook at it at that moment. Aussie. Aussie is perfect. It broke the top, anticipated. Once it came up here and we said they're going to make a new high, they could break this top. Aussie is confirming upside for us, which means it has to come down here, and then we're expecting this move up, at least to break this top, and then we'll see where that goes. You're coming down now, but that's a running flat. So if you were following my webinar, remember we said once it does this, we'd expect it to come, break this low, and then go back up. If it breaks the top, it doesn't have to break the low anymore. So it breaks the top, it's coming down. It could come a little more. I think there's still more downside here. This piece would probably make a flat here and drop one more. I'm not expecting them to break the flat. It doesn't mean the low, sorry. It doesn't mean they can't break the low. If they break the low, the difference is whether you have a running flat or whether you have an expanding flat. That's the only difference of the flat, right? One would not break the low, one would break the most common one is the one that does not break the low and then go back up. So rather than sell this, wait for it to drop and we look for a buy. This is confirming that it could come a little more, but it's upside. So Aussie is a buy, regardless of what we'll be looking for a buy in the Aussie. I don't see the change of structure in the Aussie as yet. Can we go with this as a contracting flat? For example, look at this as a contracting flat here, and that is the top of the move to downside. That's a rare possibility. And I would only relook at that if we break this low and consolidate. New Zealand. Yep, I think we've got a flat already. We don't even need to go lower. This could literally go up from here because you've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. So that could literally go up. If we get a buy setup here, we'll take it. Can it drop one more and then go? Yes, possible. Right now it's going up really slow, but if we get a buy setup, we'll go with that. Right, so you've got a flat just similar to this one, except this was a contracting flat. You've got a regular flat there. We didn't break the top. I think we might have tagged the low, or if it drops one more, it's going to break the low, then go back up. So we'll see. Swiss. Yep. So if you were following me when I did the 1 week free webinar, I think you should go back. If you're seeing this video for the first time, if you've seen this video and you haven't seen many of my videos, you should go back and watch this one. Because we made that forecast, that arrow was there, and we said there's a high probability it's going to do this. And then we're going to expect this to go back up. Well, now, if you follow it, we will see whether it goes back up. It can still go a little lower, right? This is just assuming they're going to be equal in length. They don't have to be. Actually, a buy setup here would have been perfect, but if you get a buy setup here, this would be perfect as well to take the trade to the upside. So we'll be looking for this buy setup, a flat here, and then the buy setup to go to the upside. That is the trade. What if it comes down lower like this? Like we saw this one. Right? This one was a trade to just break that low, but good for you, you got some more out of it. So you would probably close the trade here, right? Let's see if we get this trade to the upside. The trade to the upside is a really big one. which means we're expecting if this does what we think it's going to do, we're coming back to break this stop. And it could be a very sharp one like this, by the way. It might go slow, it might go sharper in a consolidation. We don't know how it's going to work. But if we get that confirmation and it's already making a flat to confirm upside, which is good. You've got one piece down, you've got one piece up, you need one piece down here, and then that's a trade. We get that, that would be a perfect trade setup. Let's see. CAD drop expected. We expect this to drop. It was going like a flat. We also expected to break the low, which it didn't. So here you're going to get a small consolidation, probably drop here, maybe break the low. Maybe go back up, drop, break the low. So we're anticipating the break of the low, and then we would look for the turn to the upside. Remember, we're at the 786, this thing should turn. If you're following me, you would know that because we showed you in the daily that the chances are they're going to turn from the 786. We were watching to see whether this is the turn. We took the buys in here. Some of them were just break even. Some of them may be very small profit. I think this one was very small profit if you took it. The more of them were break even because they didn't go. We figure out that this is very corrective. So the chances of it coming and retest the low was there. It dropped, correcting, drop again, and then we'll see what happens. There's a small sell here, actually. I'm not sure it's good for everyone because it might not be the one that breaks through, right? If it breaks through, good for. If it doesn't break through, you have to take break even out of the trade. Take off one of them. I have two there. And then we'll see where we go from there, right? It could get to the 786 and then up pretty much like Swiss. USD, yeah. Okay, yen broke the low. I thought it would be a deeper correction. We know we're correcting. I think that's very clear from it. But I thought it would go much deeper before we get to this stop. But it stopped here. For us, we were waiting for consolidation. Like we sold this, you can sell this. And then at this point, you just wait for it to consolidate and then go for the trade. It didn't. It actually go back up. Quite strange. I didn't think it was going to go back. So if we get a consolidation here, that's a buy setup. And for all you know, that buy is the one that comes and breaks the stop because we were expecting it to do that. We're expecting to come and break the stop. You still have, I think when you saw, when I started the 1 week free webinar, we were about 500 plus pips. Now we're 474 away from that. So there's still about 470 something, probably 500 pips to get by the time with all the pullbacks it's going to have. You're going to buy into the pullback and then go up. Let's see, you get a flag, we buy. We get a consolidation, we buy. Euros. By the way, what are the chances that it could drop again one more and go? Possible. We don't have a sell setup. If it does give the sell setup, we will consider that we'll retest this low. Right? If this starts to drop and make a flag here, yeah, we will assume that they can still come lower and then go. It's still a consolidation. It's still a correction of the bigger move. It doesn't mean that that is downside as yet. But once you break this, any consolidation above it is a buy setup. Euro Aus. Okay, this one dropped. You're getting another consolidation here. This would be a sell. That was a sell setup there. This would be another sell setup here. It's going really slow. So every time it drops, you can take a profit out of it. It will continue to go for a while. Big picture, I've shown that in one of my videos. You may have to go back and check them. Euro, New Zealand, the same thing. Big picture, I've shown this. They're downside. This is downside. This is still downside. This is a big flat, running flat. And the sell setup would have been from here. Right, that was during. So in any consolidation here is sell, 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 sell. This thing is going to go more. Right, big picture, we're going down to complete the daily, weekly pattern. And you can see the arrow. And you may want to know where the hell that arrow came from. So I'm going to show you. If you're watching my video for the first time, this is where it came from. And this is where it is. So we assumed that this is an impulse, that is the correction, this is an impulse, and then we are going to get this one up. So I'm going to put this here now for you. And once we get somewhere in this area, not necessarily exactly in that spot, but somewhere in this area here, we're going to start to get that up move coming. Now, that is because we have seen these patterns and we were assuming that it's making one of those patterns. If anything changes, we'll see. But so far, it's almost close to perfect. You get this, then you get this. And then you can probably come down back because that would complete this. But This is the weekly chart. So you're talking about years from now, right? So go back to the 1 hour and sell, which means we still have more downside coming. Now, every sell, you'll have to be cautious because you only have about, if they're going to be equal, you have about, I don't know, about 600 pips. That's a lot. You can still sell. So every flag you get, every correction you get, you can look for sell setups. EuroCAD also dropping. Got this flat here. We knew that was a flat. We knew it was going to drop. It dropped. It pulled back pretty deep. That one I didn't expect. And it dropped again. That I didn't expect. So now we've got a big kind of a flat forming outside of this one here. And that is strange because you don't have a big flat forming just after you form a small flat, right? This was a big consolidation, short in terms of size. And then just outside, once you broke the low, you made an impulse. You started to make another bigger flat here, which is strange. Get this, you probably will come back here. I think we'll be in this range for a while and then probably drop again. That's my only assumption because I've rarely seen the situation where you make a new impulse and then just at the side of it, you start making a really big flat. And that, all of that is happening in a downtrend, in a trending mode. It's not a big corrective mode. It could happen in here when you're making a big correction like this, right? But when you're trending down, that's kind of rare. So unless we're making another big one here, which is possible and then drop again, we'll see. Just don't trade it. It's pretty simple. When you see that happening, you just don't trade it. You let it do what it's doing because it's not very clear what the bigger pattern would be. So you just stay away from it. Euro Swiss. This was a perfect one for the sell. You could have got it a little higher. We saw this flat. This was an easy one. Those are very easy ones. You're getting another consolidation here. I think it's early. They'll probably come here, go back up, and then you get another drop. Pretty much like this. From the first impulse, I can assume that this big will look for sell setups at it on the lower time frame. Yep. This is your first impulse up. You've got one down. You're getting this. You'll probably come back here, go back up there, make a bigger flat, and then drop. So if you're going to sell, can it be a running flat? Well, then sure, you can start to look for your sell setups from this point. If you can manage a trade like that, if you understand and you have a strategy for how to get in and get out of trades like that. If you don't take it because look what happens the last time this one broke. See the last time this one broke, this up move, it barely tipped the low. It didn't even break the low and then it went right back up. So this could do exactly the same thing. Just come here and then go right back up, give you the full flat and then drop. So like I said, if you don't know wave analysis to that extent, what it could do and how to manage it and where to put your stops and how to deal with trades like that, it can be difficult trading in here. But once it's completed, once you have a complete flat, trading is easy. Euro yen, it broke out and came right back down. So the assumption is we're just making a bigger correction. We didn't break the top, so that's okay. We're still in the correction, which means somewhere here, they will get a bigger flat and then you get some more downside and then probably go. It's just a bigger correction. No trade setups yet. Euro pound, same here. We made a flat, we dropped, made a low, go back up, and it's getting weird. All right, it's getting weird because you made a very nice impulse up. You made a 1, 2, 3, very sharp. Go back up, you came back down all the way. You're making another 1, 2, 3 here possible. Maybe even come back here. By then, I think we'll figure out a series of running flats before it goes. And I'm more inclined to believe that's what we're getting. A series of running flats. That's what you can get when you start to get these sharp moves here, up and down. Is that you get a series of running flats and then it takes off. You really can't make that forecast as yet. Experience might say, well, that's likely what's going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. So if you're going to trade in the range, which was within a running flat range, you'll have to take one trade at a time. Which means one trade, close, wait for the correction, take another trade, close. Don't keep them for longer term. Because sometimes I say these things and my assumption is everybody knows what I'm saying because my group knows what I'm saying. And turns out not so. Not everybody understands what I said just now. So I have to explain myself. We're correcting here again. Probably come here, go back up, and then look for a drop again. Pound Aus is downside. It will continue to go down. We might get the bigger move up for the bigger running flat way down when it gets to the bottom. Pound New Zealand. Yep, it did exactly what we want. So let me explain this as you go back and watch my video. Remember when we started to do this, we said this, if it doesn't break the low, we'll go break the top and then come back. But once it breaks the low like this, all it has to do is make a move up like that. And then that is enough for a running flat. And now you can drop. Now we have a move right now, I showed you on a chart where we are waiting for this up move to make a running flat and then look for the drop. Here is an example of what it should look like. So any flag you get after that is a sell setup, is a sell setup, is a sell setup. You get another correction, it will be a sell setup. You can put this like this and that becomes your running flat. Punkat. Also going sideways. We didn't break the top. I'm not sure if we have to break the top. Yeah, we have to because we didn't break the low. So if it doesn't break the top, all we'll assume is that it's a contracting flat. But selling here is a little dangerous. The sell setup here, but is a little dangerous in that you're assuming that it's a contracting flat. We don't know, you know, what if it's just coming here and going back up to break the top and then come down? Right, so I would be careful of selling this here. I'll allow it to break the low, make flags, and then sell. We're anticipating a sell setup. We just don't have the right setup for it. It's not the right pattern to trade. So you just ignore that one. Pound Swiss. Yep, that was a sell, and it will likely break the low. You have another sell. You can easily sell this. Rather than sell the Punkat, sell the Pound Swiss. Because we have a flag. We have a nice flag forming there, and we are anticipating that it will break this low. So you have another sell setup. There was a sell setup there. There was a sell setup here. And you're getting another sell setup here. Perfect. Go for it. When we break this low, that's when you're going to be careful. When you break this low. So one more drop maybe. That's all. Pang Yen. Sideways, but downside. You can see that this was sideways, but downside. This is sideways, but downside. This is sideways, but downside. So one more drop here also. We're in a sideways correction, but we're dropping. They're consolidating, they're dropping. You're getting another consolidation here. You get one more drop impulse down, and then probably that will complete it. Right? You get one more drop here, and maybe that will complete this for the upside. There is possibly going to be one more impulse to the upside. Can this be the start of the down move going very slow? Well, if you sell and that is happening, you're lucky, right? Because it's a sell setup. So every sell setup you get, you take it. This is a weekly top in a bigger pattern, in a weekly pattern. So every sell setup is good. Aussie Yen, you're also getting a sell setup here. And this is not the greatest one because you can see that all of that is happening within this move. So you'll probably get something like this. You'll probably go back up and then you get a drop. This is going to be a bigger flat forming here. That's how those patterns tend to behave. Aussie CAD. Stay out of this. This would likely go back up, but it might pull back deep and then go. I don't like the whole setup. We didn't break the top in this up move. And it's not coming down as an impulse. So best thing to stay out of that for now. Aussie Swiss. Upside. This is likely going to go up. We'll try to break this top. And then we'll see what happens from there. If it comes down more, it's still within the correction. If it comes down more, let's say this drops a little more. It's not a really good sell setup because it probably dropped about this level. You're going to still be in this consolidation and then you'll be looking for this trade up. So if you get a flag here, this would be a good buy. You go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll see what happens from that point. We're making a big flat here. I think that is clear, right? So Aussie, New Zealand. Sell setup is valid now. Any flag you get, you can sell. CAD Yen. Same thing. All yen pairs are consolidating, which means possible upside. This is consolidating. It probably drop here, and that could take off. So let's see. CAD Swiss. It's a big consolidation down, and then we should go up, right? We're anticipating this move down. If you go back, you're watching the past. We had this one. See this? Kind of coming down slowly here. We're going to make a next move up. And then we'll see what happens from there. You can probably stay out of this. It's not the best trading. Here's a short-term buy there, but you probably don't want to take it. Swiss yen. This one actually broke out. This was a very nice consolidation. If we get sell set up here, we'll take that trade. At least one impulse down. Likely it could come here and go back up, break this low, go back up, or continue to drop. This is also weekly top. New Zealand yen also consolidating. This looks very corrective at the middle here. You can see this here. You've got this, you got a sharp move down, you get a flat in the middle, you go up there, you come back here, you probably go back there, probably come back here, and then continue to go, or totally drop. So right now we can look for a sell setup in this. If we get it, that'd be perfect. You want this to drop. You want it to make a flag here, see like this, and then you go for this trade. At this point, it either break through or it goes back up. My guess is it will go back up. Based on the way we look at pattern, it's going to go back up, and then you look for another sell setup. Let's go. New Zealand Swiss. We're going sideways. I think you can see that. You don't need me to tell you. It's going sideways. It's at the top. If it breaks out, go for the trade. If it doesn't break out, well, can we look at this as like something like this? I don't like that. So my assumption is it's going to come back down, right? This is a 1, 2, 3. This goes back like this one. So you should come back down here and then go. See? One more drop and then the upside. Pretty easy. So if you get a drop, you can go for a sell. If this drops here, we can go for this sell. And then when it gets to this level, we look for that buy. That one is pretty easy, right? New Zealand CAD. Stay out of that. All CAD pairs are weird right now. Something weird is going on with Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD, Swiss CAD, Swiss, all of them. So just give them some time to settle. Let's see what the CAD dollar does, and then we'll probably get some good setups. And this is a sell setup. Yep, you've got a flat in the middle here. You can easily make an assumption that this here is some kind of a flat. You've got a bigger flat there. Any flag here becomes a sell. All right, any flag you get there becomes a sell. It's a big flat. Can it keep going up? Of course. But you don't have a buy setup right now. UK oil. Here is the question with oil now. Is it starting the big down move? Remember I was saying when this was going up that at any time this thing could start a very big move to the downside. We don't have confirmation of that. The mere fact that this is consolidating in this range, if all this consolidation stays in this range, that's a big drop coming. So within this week, it's possible that could happen. So if it stays within this range, look out for a big one. But if it goes back up, and this is where wave analysis shows you what patterns you're making, right? If this goes back up to the top here, and it's upright, it will come back here, but then that's buy setup. Remember this one? Once it go back to the top, it comes here, it's a buy setup. If it stays within this range, that will be a big sell setup. Let's see which one it gives us. That will take a while. Same with the US oil. Natural gas. It actually went much higher. We were expecting this to drop within this range. One more, they break out, they're going flat, they're making a big corrective structure. It's still coming down, but now it went up too high. So when it goes this much high and then come back down, you're not selling anymore. For example, at least not here. So we'll take that out and we'll assume that it's coming back to somewhere here, all right? So if you get a correction here, you can go for this sell to break the low. Now this is very sharp, so that cannot be all the correction, which means I would anticipate that they'll make a big correction here, drop, go back up, come down, and then go. That's one likely scenario. That's not the only scenario. So we'll have to wait to see what this piece does, and then we decide which one is coming up. US 30, it did break out. Actually, it broke out from this piece. This didn't drop lower, and this one didn't go the way we expected. We were thinking it's going to come back and then go. It broke the top, so now that's not a big upside. I thought this would come lower. We were anticipating that this would have come lower here and then go. It break the top, it's still possible to come here and then go. Right, you're still expecting this move to happen. It's still very corrective. Right, it didn't go very far. See, they're pulling back already. So if you get sell setups, go for it. You broke the top, and if it starts to come back and give you a sell setup, that's a good sell setup. This was buy, right? This one here was buy. You got a 1, 2, 3. You would have got a buy here also. You could have put an entry above the top for the buy. If it stays as a consolidation there, you can buy. If it drops lower, make a flag, you sell. But right now it's a buy setup, right? Take this off. That didn't go lower either. And Nasdaq, let's see. Yep, this one was a big running flat there, and that was a buy. The question is whether you would buy it at the top here, because we're in a big sideways move. See this? We just broke this up. And this move is not going up as aggressive as you would like. So you want a deeper correction, and that gives you a better trade to the upside. If you get a deeper correction here, this gives you a much bigger impulse to the upside. So even if you get this trade, you have to close it already, because the chances are it could pull back way back lower. So, or move your stops onto it and accept break even if it doesn't go. PayPal, it's about to hit the low, and then great. After that, once we break this low, we start looking for upside. Right? So PayPal comes down a little here. And then we're looking for a buy setup. This would be a big flat. So that should be a good buy setup. Amazon, it's likely going to come down some more. We're going to watch this piece to see if we get any more downside here. It's starting to look like a much more complex flat forming, right? Like a bigger complex flat. We'll have to keep an eye on it in this piece. On the 1 hour, you really don't have any trade set up. Not for the buy, not for the sell. DAX, upside. So this drop was perfect. That was this, there was a small flag here for this drop. And now it's going up. So you can buy to break the top now. That sell is over. Take this off. That was a sell setup there. We're buying to break the top. This was corrective. We knew that was corrective, but this drop was going to give you a good trade. It turned out to be better than expected. And now we're looking for the buy to break the top. Let's see if it goes break the top. There's a buy setup coming there. It's the same thing in this one. We're looking at both of them, the 40 and the 30. 8200. It didn't come all the way to the low, and then it made that spike. That's weird. Can we assume that we have a running flat in here? We could assume that this piece did make a running flat here, which means we still have to come down for this one and still go back up. So this would still have to come down here like this and still have to go back up before it comes down. So if you get a sell setup, you can go with it. If this gives a sell setup here and you get something like this, that could be a sell setup. So the sell setup is a good idea. Even if this is a big running flat in there, we can go with a sell setup in that for one more impulse down. Nifty, it's coming down really strong. What's the big picture in Nifty? We've got to look at it, but it's coming down really strong. If you get a 4-hour consolidation, that could confirm bigger downside. So right now it's more of a correction, right? Although it's coming strong, we'll assume that it's just making a bigger correction for now. But if we get a big 4-hour sideways move, we're going to assume that it's actually trying to go down. If you consolidate there, that would be a sell. Go for a sell there. This is sideways. It's not going anywhere. It still has to go up back, but it's not going as yet. Reliance, it's coming down a lot. So if you get flags, you can sell. It could be a much deeper correction than this. And Tesla went up quite a lot, much higher than we expected, because it still has to come down one more, right? This up move was very, very slow, very corrective. We've got one sharp move here and we have nothing to go with it. We've got, you can make this in 1, 2, 3 in a down, but I don't think we broke the low, and that's not a contracted flat. So this would be part of the correction. An up move, a pullback, a move up. So at some point, even if it continues to go, you'll get some flags and correction and go, but then it will drop like this to give you a long drawn out running flat. So if you're buying and you're buying in this piece here, if you buy now, you have to be cautious. You take the trade and then you anticipate that you move your stops because at any point it could come back and that drop would be sudden. So yep, this is pushing up. You might get a pullback here and one more up or running flat. That's likely. And then every you start to get flats like these, you can buy them. Every time it make an impulse, take the profit out, wait for another flat buy. Makes an impulse, take the profit out, wait for another flat buy. You're going to get a sudden drop, and then you're going to start to get that up move again. And let's see, copper. Copper is coming down, so we're going to be in a big sideways move here, I assume. This is making some bigger sideways move. This whole thing is going to be a big correction. So if this comes down, it's probably going to come down, make a flat here, come back here, something like that. So you're going to get like a 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3, and maybe then go up. This one didn't break the top. The assumption was that that would break the top and then drop. It didn't break the top. So you're making a bigger consolidation, right? Just a bigger flag. Which means if you get flags, you can sell. If you get flats, you can sell. I'd wait for them and sell. There's no buy setup anymore in it. There wasn't any buy setup. There was just short-term sells. And it's still short-term sells. Let's go. Bitcoin. Bitcoin dropped. It's going back up. So let's see. How far would this go? That's an up move. So you've got a 1, 2, 3 down. You can make an assumption that there was a flat there. You've got a 1, 2, 3 down. Could this be another high? It likely could be. Not necessarily would be, but it could be, right? So you could keep making new highs as long as you keep making new flats. So we broke that. We came back pretty deep. I don't know if this wick is correct. If the wick is correct, they came back to 56 from 68. It's a big move, right? This was what, 67, 6 to 56. That's a big move. You're getting a buy setup here. Here is what will change in the buy setup is if this crawls down lower. If it comes within this range, they will go back up, but then that is going to drop. If it stays at the top here, it could make a new high. So those are the two ways you will watch it. If you get a buy setup now, it could make a new high. If it comes lower, rather than go back up, it comes down lower, we would assume that it's making a flat. If it keeps coming down like this, comes within this range, we'll assume that this is a flat, the up move, and then the drop. But you can still buy this. These are big moves, right? You can still buy them. It's tradable, right? It ranges thousands of pips, thousands of dollars, not just pips. So it's tradable range. And with a correction like this, if this breaks out here now, that would be a good trade. If it keeps dropping, come back to the low here, that changes everything. By the way, if this wick is real, somebody would have to tell me that. If the wick is not real, then we're still in that sideways consolidation. This would be the low. ETH, sideways, but downside. Right. Going very slow to the downside. This could make a new high. When that happens, this was a big flat. When that happens, it could make a new high. If it comes lower, if it keeps coming lower and they break this low, we will confirm the downside. So if you get sell setups, you take it short term. If you get buy setups, you take it short term until you get confirm one direction. This is definitely downside. So if you get a sell setup here, you can go for this. To be a buy, you'll have to be above that. It has to go above that, make flag, and then we'll consider the buy. But right now, this looks very corrective. And when it's corrective like that, it tends to drop, make a new low. ADA, I think somebody asked for this. Some of my traders said this should go higher. We never had this. We put it on. It's literally going sideways. If you look at it in the big picture, it's literally going sideways, right? So this piece here is going sideways. And at some point, if they keep going sideways, they tend to drop. I like this. See, when sideways, it dropped. If you go sideways, you drop. And then we'll see what happens. This is one I think we didn't have on. We put this on and it's actually coming down. So you can look for this sell setup here. That should be a drop to this level. And then chances are it could break out. Dash, we had Dash. Also sell setup, consolidating. You can see this consolidation here. That's a sell setup. And let's see. This is going up, but it's going up very slowly. So you're kind of going up like this, but then this whole structure is downside. At least one more drop. And this one. Okay, this one actually spiked. We were only expecting it to break this top. I was expecting it to go break that up and come back here. It spiked above the top. So now we wait and see whether it's a big running flat in the making within the daily. We just have to wait and see whether this is some kind of a big running flat in the making. Right. A 1, 2, 3 within this one. Maybe within the bigger structure, you're making a flat. It's not clear to me, so we'll wait and see how it goes. There's a lot of sharp spike. We'll have to see where we put them, right? Whether we can, because if this comes back from here, if it goes up from there, I don't see the correction. This was already moved up. It's an incomplete. With 2 of this in here, I could see them coming back here and then going, right? That would make sense if you make a big flat here, right? Like this big one, see this big flat here? That makes sense. It dropped from that point. You make a flat here, you go up from this point. You make another flat, you go up. That makes sense. So this too is either making a bigger flat here for one more drop and then go back up, we'll see. Because it's all inside of this sharp impulse. And let's see, LTC. It's going sideways. I'm not 100% sure about this running flat there. That's an assumption. This is going sideways. Looks more upside right now on the daily. Let's see on the 4 hour, 1 hour. 4 hours, it's kind of upside still. Yep. They broke, but they're going back up. So you just go for a bigger correction. This looks upside. Break the top, and then we'll see. We might even break this top and then come down. If it is a big running flat, it's not a classical running flat, so we'll have to wait and see. And this actually dropped as expected, and we're going back up. So this becomes one big flat here, and this should go back and break the top. So put it like this. Now you've got a bigger flat in the making, right? You've got to move up. You have a 1, 2, 3 down. You're getting a move up, and then you're going to get a move down. That's the expectation. Let's see if we get that. That should be the trade. Okay, guys, I'll stop it there. I think we've covered all we're doing. For those of you on YouTube, have a good week. Trade carefully, make profit. See all of you next week. And for my traders, I'll close the room now and I'll see you in the trading room. Thank you for being here. Bye.